Now time for the 7 things you'll be talking about today. Number 7.
Alabama State Representative Wandolyn Gavan, a great friend of this program, Democrat from Birmingham, advocating for a statewide alert system dedicated to finding missing black youth. Similar to the existing Amber Alert, but addressed to black people only? I don't know what we're going to call this. I have a couple of recommendations for it. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to start rattling off names for this thing. Gavan highlighted that many families feel overlooked, stating, quote, "Nobody sees us," and emphasized the need for this initiative to address racial inequality and how missing person cases are handled. Is there any evidence that this is true? Is there any evidence like they're like a missing black person? Boring. I just don't know if that's true. Didn't we have a whole case like where the world shut down because some person was faking being missing and they were black? What is this?
Number 6.
MSNBC staffers and social media users are just absolutely outraged that totally real and non-pathetic sycophant human beings Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski are sycophants for power. Just shocking. They spent their entire careers sucking up to different people, and now they're sucking up to Donald Trump, and everyone's mad at him. It's seen as a betrayal by some colleagues and even viewers. Critics on social media accuse the Morning Joe host of hypocrisy and opportunism, which is exactly what it is, given their past public feuds with Trump and, calling him a Nazi and a fascist. MSNBC insiders reportedly described the meeting as disgusting and unsurprising. I don't know, it's kind of surprising, personally. Reflecting internal tensions about the network's relationship with political figures. You're only supposed to be slurping up Democrats, damn it. Don't be nice to Republicans. That's wrong.
Number 5.
Do you like never-ending gambling conversations? Well, congratulations. You are about to get hooked up with a never-ending gambling conversation. Because the Wind Creek Hospitality, which is really the porch band of Creek Indians, have announced their plans to acquire the Birmingham Racecourse. Now, for those who don't know, at that racecourse, they do pari-mutuel betting, which is basically you can bet on horse races that are going on elsewhere. And they also do slot machines with extra steps, which they call historic horse racing, which if you are a really degenerate gambler, you go and you bet money on a horse race that you can't see and you're not picking the thing, and then they run a random horse race from the past and you win or lose based on that. Sounds super fun. Oh, wait, it just sounds really sad and pathetic? Oh, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's a slot machine with extra steps. And so anyway, they want to build a bunch of stuff. This is going to lead to a bigger gambling conversation, and now you've got some partnerships between some of the parties. This is bad for Alabama.
Number 4.
The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, hey, knock that crap off. In a 4-3 ruling, they ruled that undated and misdated mail-in ballots could not be counted. It is controversial, because the law says undated and misdated mail-in ballots cannot be counted. But election boards in Philadelphia, Montgomery, and Bucks counties were just saying, screw it, we're going to count them anyway. And they told them to stop that. And they said, we're going to do whatever we want. They were literally trying to steal the election. This is why you can't have counting going on forever, because there's so much time for shenanigans. The Republican David McCormick has been declared the winner in this race, and they're still trying to chip away at that lead. The dissenting judges in the case argued that the lower courts, that they should be trying to count as many votes as possible, but that's not what the rule says. The shenanigans are afoot in Pennsylvania.
Number 3.
U.S. Representative Nanette Diaz-Barragán, a Democrat from California and the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, vowed to oppose President-elect Donald Trump's planned mass deportation, citing potential harm to the U.S. economy. Let me summarize this. Who's going to pick our crops? Hey, look, they're just saying it out loud now, which sounds familiar to what they said right before the Civil War. Hey, we let these slaves go. Who's going to pick our crops? What's going on here? Who's going to clean my house? Tom Holman, Trump's incoming border czar, fired back, accusing Barragán of undermining law enforcement and calling for her resignation. Trump has reiterated, and did it yesterday, his commitment to mass deportations and says, yeah, we're going to declare a national emergency. We're going to use military resources. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it all on day one. Keep poking this bear and see what happens.
Number 2.
Concerns over secret voting practices in the United States Senate and the Alabama State Senate are coming to light. And I am glad to be the one bringing a lot of this to light. It is a bad idea to have a secret ballot. And I get it. The Republican Party is not a function of the government. It's a private shut up. Okay? This is how they decide who leads these bodies, which are governmental bodies. Secret votes allow leaders to avoid a responsibility for decisions, undermines the trust, and leads to conspiracy theories seen like we've been seeing with Katie Britt. She said she voted for Rick Scott, and Rick Scott said she voted for Rick Scott, and Mike Lee said she voted for Rick Scott, but I don't think she voted for Rick Scott. Why? Because I'm an idiot with a Twitter account. It's like, okay, that's great, but you're still an idiot with a Twitter account. We have no way of knowing. You got to take the word of the people who are actually there.
Now, time for the number 1 thing you'll be talking about today.
Senator Tommy Tuberville, the Republican out of Auburn, has kind of changed his tune, it appears, when it comes to confirmations, and I actually agree with his change in tone. I think he's right here. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. I do not believe in the whole, you will confirm all these nominees, you'll do it now, you'll do it with recess appointments, and we should do that with the Attorney General and the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State and all these other things. I disagree with all this. The role of the United States Senate is confirm and consent. That's what they're supposed to do in this matter. And that's exactly what they should do. Senator Tommy Tuberville's take here is that Senate Republicans should unify and independently confirm President-elect Donald Trump's nominees without relying on Democratic support. Stop trying to get them on board. They're never going to get on board. Donald Trump supports the person's a monster. Unless, of course, they need to meet them at Mar-a-Lago, then they will slavishly go down there and slobber all over them. Okay, that's how never mind. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. Emphasizing the GOP has sufficient numbers to act decisively, Tuberville says, let's do this and get this done. He criticized past Republican concessions, called for a stronger backing of Trump's agenda, aligning with his longstanding push for conservative judicial and military appointments. And he's right. Tuberville's right here. They should get in there and they should have this confirmation process. Now, that, to me, and this is where I think Tuberville and I might disagree, that to me does not mean a rubber stamp yes on all these nominees. If there are issues with some, like Matt Gaetz, then raise those issues and let's have that conversation. But I stand by my earlier prediction. Matt Gaetz will never get a hearing on the floor. He will never get a hearing on the floor. Is there a potential that he be appointed like via recess appointment? Maybe. I mean, that's a potential. But Matt Gaetz is never going to get a hearing on the floor. And here's how this is going to play out. And you guys are going to disagree with this, and you can yell at me if you want. Right before Matt Gaetz is supposed to start getting some hearings on the floor, either Matt Gaetz, at the behest of Donald Trump, or Donald Trump himself will toss Matt Gaetz under the bus. He will then get in the bus and he will run him over repeatedly. He will do donuts on his corpse. He will then jump off a ramp, landing on Matt Gaetz. And then you guys will text me and tell me what a great thing it is that Donald Trump did this rope-a-dope. That's what's going to happen here, okay? That's what's coming. That's what's going down. If you don't believe me, stay tuned, because that's exactly what we're going to see. And you can tell me I'm wrong there if you want. Matt Gaetz is not going to be the Attorney General unless they recess appoint him, and that will be a bad idea, because eventually, Democrats have learned this, you're not in power forever, and then everyone else tries to do something very similar to what you did when you were in power. Just keep that in mind. Power is not forever. You don't want to be setting precedent. You don't want to give your enemies more ammo than they need. Democrats will do it anyway. They haven't. Just FYI, just throwing that out there. It's a bad idea. Shouldn't be done this way. Tuberville's right. Have the confirmations. Let's take a quick timeout, and we'll get some of your thoughts here on the other side. It is all very simple and easy for you to get in here right now. 866-494-WVNN, 866-494-9866. You can voice your opinion, tell me how right I am, because I am, and get your questions in for 10 with M. Emily's got 10 questions in about 10 minutes. We'll get to those at the end of the program here today. Let's take a quick time out. We'll be right back.
Get WBNN's Dale Jackson's 7 Things You Should Be Talking About Today right in your email box every morning. Go to yellowhammernews.com and sign up today.